You can go to Miami and get the guy and that drives the Lambo and he's got the fucking AP on.
And he's probably a fraudster.
Yeah,
And
he's gonna cheat on you and he's gonna treat you like shit and it's gonna be cool for 6 months and then you're gonna see your friends that like, you know, waited it out with the guy and they're happily married and they start a family. And guess what? It's like sometimes like you missed out on the great guy that was right in front of you to settle for what? A lifestyle to post on Instagram?
For sure.
You know, and it's just like I don't think a lot of women see that in the moment because it's so tempting, right? I could only imagine. I mean,
of course.
It's so fucking tempting.
Especially
I could
with
imagine.
social media nowadays, like
yeah, I mean, like
I want that. Not realizing you could probably have that if you built with the right person.
You're listening to the X Podcast. The X you keep coming back to.
I'm gonna just show everybody how they look.
All right. I'm good. Yep.
John, you tell me how I look.
You look great, brother. You're gonna be all right.
Yeah, no, it's
you look
perfect.
good. Look, you good.
So I have John here today and Zach from the Journey Podcast. How are you guys today?
Good. Thank you for having us.
Doing
Oh
well.
my God, I feel like this is gonna be just a natural episode.
Oh yeah, for sure.
So have you guys like watched any of my episodes or seen clips?
I see the clips. Yeah, I've definitely seen the clips.
And
before.
what are your thoughts? Like, are you like, what the fuck is this girl saying?
No, we were just talking about it. I feel like you're very well rounded. You've spoken about a lot of things. I've seen you talk about some like wild shit. I've seen the GoFundMe for the Rolex.
We can talk about that after.
And I've also seen you talk about like some like the down to earth shit, the emotional side to shit. And then I've seen you bring on guests where you talk about very specific shit. So I feel like you have a very well rounded pod. So it's very dope to come on here and just chop it.
Feel like I'm just all over the place. So,
Which could be a good thing because you hit a lot of points.
yeah, but
Where's
then
the
it's like
GoFundMe
master of none.
Where's the GoFundMe at? I'm just curious. Are we almost there or what's up?
Well-
Can we raise some money on here right now for the
No,
wallet?
I was 2 weeks in, more than halfway, and they shut my account.
Oh, God.
So, okay, let's talk a little bit about the Journey Podcast. So, how did you come up with the name?
So I was playing college basketball back in like 2019 and I got hurt. I was out for the season, laying in my bed, couldn't move. Was going to be 6 to 8 months, crutches, everything like that. And I'm scrolling my phone one day, and Jake and I were like childhood best friends, and we didn't speak for like a couple of years. And I'm scrolling Instagram, and I see him post a podcast clip from this artist named Mike, and I'm like, "Yo, what is this?" And he's like, "It's a podcast. Check it out." I had nothing but time, so I just started binge watching all these podcasts, and I like fell in love, and I was like, I want to do this. And I was like, I got to think of a name. Like, what's a good name? And like the first thing that came up to me, I'm like, yo, my life's been like a journey since I was a young kid. And I mean, I didn't know shit about podcasts because there's a million The Journey podcasts when I first started it, when I picked it.
Right.
And we found that out the hard way. Like when you typed in The Journey podcast, it never came up in the beginning, but now we fucking own it, which is really cool.
Amazing.
And yeah, so it was just so synchronistic of just how that story post from Jake, we didn't speak in 6 years, and now he came on as a co-host after he was a guest on episode 3, and then John was episode 49 for the first one.
Crazy to think.
And then listen to this synchronicity. A year later, when John became an official co-host on The Journey, we shot it on the same date that his first episode was aired on YouTube.
Yeah, it's
No
crazy.
way.
Yeah, it was really
So
crazy.
it's just like this whole shit's been a journey.
That's wild. So how long have you guys been podcasting? Well, obviously the dates are a little bit different, but when did you start?
Started officially during COVID in August of 2020, but did like 15 episodes and then stopped. I was playing college basketball, so I was like, let me just focus on hoops. And then April 2022, I brought it back and I was like, you know what? I'm going to take it to TikTok and really give this thing like a real chance. And I posted 4 times a day for 8 months. And then November 2022, it legit took off on TikTok. Jake became an official co-host.
Okay.
So legit 2 years.
Okay.
This November.
And how did you choose, I guess, like when he came on, you were like, wow, we vibe well, so he'll join the team? Like, what was your process like?
Yeah, I mean, that first conversation we had with John was something that
It was something special. It really
Wait,
was.
what did you guys talk about?
should go watch it.
Yeah, apparently I didn't do my research.
Because when the journey started to really blow up on TikTok is when I seen them. But how crazy it is you couldn't always message people on TikTok.
Right.
Right.
Yeah.
And that shit just opened up. And I remember I just sent the message. I had been on maybe one or two before that.
Okay.
But like I wasn't a podcaster.
Yeah.
And I was really just still trying to find my way as a fashion designer. But like I just always wanted to do this shit. And I reached out to him. Zach was like, yeah, fuck it, come on. And we came on. That was January, I think.
Yeah.
That following year. So 2023.
Yeah, right after the New Year.
And we just had the most like insane episode. Just talked about, I was the most transparent that I had ever been, but they brought it out of me because that's the shit that they talk about. So it just worked. We did that episode. I don't remember when we did the second episode. It was a little while after that.
It was a little while because, I mean, after we shot the pod, we asked, like, me and Jake and John, we were like, bro, I don't know how or when, whatever, but like, you're part of the team.
Yeah, it was
we
dope.
were like, we don't know. We're like, yo, we could see us doing like a retreat in Salt Lake City in the woods or be in Miami. Like, but there's some way like we're gonna come together.
Right.
And we had that was the first time we ever met.
It was the first time we ever spoke.
Yeah.
Like not even a phone call. He gave me his number. We set up a date. I went out there. We sat down. And it was the first conversation we had ever really had in depth.
Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah, it was crazy.
And then we ended up doing another one. Then we did one with West Bay.
Yeah.
And then after that, John was talking about kind of starting his own pod. But then he was like, yo, in the meantime, you know, like, would it work if I just kind of came on as a part-time co-host, honorary co-host? And then
just worked.
It just worked.
Just
and we
happened.
were like, you know what? Let's fucking keep doing this.
Okay, wow. No, I started it with my girlfriend, my best friend during COVID. So it was like a COVID baby too. And she originally was like, we have such good banter, but she's like, Alessia, like I always saw myself starting a podcast, but with a guy to get like a male's perspective and then like her perspective. And I was like, shut up. We're so good together. Like, just do it with me. So I basically held a gun to her head and I was like, do the podcast with me. And so we did it for 3 years together. And then she kind of went out and did her own thing. And at the beginning, it was kind of hard, right? Because I'm like, fuck, it's so easy to shoot the shits when you know each other and you get each other's vibes. And it's not like, obviously with a guest, it's going to be amazing sometimes. It's going to be shit sometimes. So like navigating that alone, I was like, oh my God, I'm alone. But to have each other is honestly the best for sure.
Because there's different, and we talk about this all the time, because we do internals that we call, which is the three of us. And then we do guests, and where it's four. Right, I think that's the most we've ever done. Like us, is 4, and it's very different from the internal to the like asking the questions and then being asked the question. Like I've gone on pods, we've all gone on pods and had the questions asked to us. We've been the ones that ask the questions, and then we've had the three where we just shoot the shit, and they're all just so different.
Yeah,
you really got to be talented at the shit. It's not easy. That's why everybody tries to start a pod and then they do 5 episodes and the shit just fails.
Yeah,
because you think that the shit is just a regular shit and it's not.
100%.
You're gonna learn that the hard way.
Yeah, and who does the editing?
I do everything.
Oh, you
they
do
do
everything
in-house.
and you're self-taught?
Yeah.
Okay, like me.
Yeah, TikTok. I do the TikTok clips, the long form socials. Yeah.
Okay, and do you enjoy it, or do you find it like exhausting now?
I enjoy editing. Like our stuff because like I know like when I'm sitting there editing and I just know when a clip is gonna go,
right?
And then I make it and I'm just like, oh, I can't wait to like post this on Monday night. You know, that's like prime time. It's gonna go, and that's cool.
But now you edit for.
I have other clients too. Yeah, so I edit other people's podcasts.
So that's your career. Like that's what you do.
It makes money
for sure.
You know,
like he's gonna do
sure.
mine. Like when I start mine, my one-on-one or whatever it's gonna be, they're gonna produce it.
Yeah.
What the best is when I say some shit on the pod, or like Jake says some shit on the pod, right? And I'm saying something, and sometimes I'm not looking directly at her. I'm looking that way. And I could see in the corner of my eye, he just starts to smirk. Yeah. And I try to like hold it in because I'm like, fuck, I got something here, but I don't want to laugh because I know that they know I got something.
Yeah,
they're really good at that shit.
Do you feel like AI is gonna help you in that?
No, AI sucks. With the clips, AI sucks.
I just started using Opus a little bit.
It sucks.
Yeah,
just to get it myself, like, because you don't need the raw footage. I could post a YouTube link, pick the time slot, and it could do it. And I'm like, damn, why didn't it clip that? Or why didn't it clip that? Like, AI is never going to take the human perspective out of it. Never, ever, ever.
No.
It took me a while. Like, it took me posting 4 times a day for 8 months to figure out what songs work, what hashtags works, what is the hook, how important is this hook? A strong finish is also important for someone to want to watch the clip again, right? You bring the point home. Now someone's like, all right, I want to rewatch this. And now that pushes it more, the more people, retention. So there's so much that goes into it that AI, it's not there yet. Like I've spoke to people that run like AIs. There's another one, I forgot. And I was speaking to the guy and he was like, yo, what's your honest feedback on this? And I was like, yo, it's awful. You know, I was like, I literally told him that, and I was like, I'm not being like a dick, but it sucks. I was
I
like,
think there's like some things about it that are good. If you're, let's say, like, I don't know if you ever get those messages of like people who write to you and they're like, hey, like, let me edit your clips. What they do is
1,000
they
a
send
day.
the template to 1 million people and then they just need like 5 to bite, and then you're charging 2 G's a month when it
Fuck that.
costs you on Opus, what? Like, it's
$15 a month.
it's definitely like smart in a way for people who don't know. Like, for example, I interviewed a plastic surgeon and I was like looking at his stuff. I'm like, this is all done like through AI. He's like, I have no idea. So you're always going to get the people who have no idea, who are not in that industry, that are going to bite. So
yeah, it's good for like when you have clients that like, it's like tedious, busy. It's not going to go viral anyway.
Yeah,
and you just
and
throw
they
it in
don't
there.
really care
You get them
because
30
they're-
clips, and they're like, "Oh my god, I got content for the month." And like,
Yeah.
That's the separation though, like between podcasters and creative people, right? I feel like there's a difference, and I actually
Yeah.
never even thought about it before until now. It's just like a really fresh thought, because it's like you could be a podcaster, or at least think you are, and sit here and talk. Like, I'll forget about this conversation once we walk out the store. I won't really remember what we spoke about, but I could go back and watch it and be like, oh, I think that's good, or I think that's good, I think that's good. And somebody that's not a creative but wants to be a podcaster might just give somebody the raw footage and like, yo, give me the clips and whatever.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? I trust their perspective because I do clips sometimes, but like Zach has the greatest eye with that shit.
Yeah.
That like we just connected. It was just really weird. Like, you know what I mean? It made me think the Matrix is real. Like when how we connected like that right away, bro.
Yeah.
Just bugged out. But I'm the creative. I kind of like to, like, I'll hit him, yo, you think you could timestamp this and timestamp that? I think there's a difference there between creatives and podcasters.
No, 100%.
You know what I'm
And like
saying?
my partner was I'm first one to say she was way better at that. Like, she was like, Ale, like, I think you're at a point now where you need to make somebody do your clips. And I was
Yeah.
like, what? She's like, you're so in it now. You think what is going to go viral is going to work, and it's not anymore. And I'm first one to say like 100%. So I get it. Someone has their
sure.
creative eye, and then,
100%.
you know, some people just know how to like
Yeah.
put their show together and know it's going to like either, you know, offend people or like,
Movies get shot and then they get edited by an editor.
yeah.
You know what I'm saying? Like, so there's something there that's way different than just sitting down recording, getting the footage and like, yeah, all right, give me the clips, and then someone's looking at the footage and dissecting it the right way.
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah.
So
your podcast is called The Journey. Do you feel like there's going to be a point in your life where you're going to feel like you made it in a way, whatever made it means to you? Like, what are your thoughts on that?
we talk about that a lot.
yeah, I mean that feeling of made it, obviously, and I think it changes over time. You know, I think we're like constantly chasing happiness, or
Yeah.
you know, when I was younger, or even when I first started this thing, I'm now at the point where I have the things that I told myself 4 years ago were going to make me happy, and I'm not happy. So I think when you chase happiness and you chase this made it, or like I'm finally at where I said I was going to be, it's fleeting, because you're always going to want more. Like, if you're driven, if you're hungry, if you want to be great, you know, and you want to actually leave an impact and a legacy, especially speaking, like you're providing people value and you're changing people's lives and perspectives, even though you don't think you're doing it in the moment. Like, you put out a clip and it hits a person, like you could have literally changed a life. So I think that's really cool of what we're doing. And I just want to continue to do that. I don't want to put like, you know, a ceiling on, I made it.
Yeah. What are your thoughts?
I think about that a lot too. I think about it from different from the podcast perspective, because in the grand scheme of things, they did 115 episodes and I've done 15 or 20, right? So it's just like a little bit different from that perspective.
Yeah.
But from like just an overall life perspective, being a designer, being a creative, I started at War 10 years ago. And when I was 18, 19, 20 years old, I never even thought that I would meet the people, be friends with the people, have sold 7 figures in clothes up until now, and still think, like, I never thought that I would get there. And then I got there and I was like, all right, well, this is literally nowhere near enough. When the fuck am I ever going to feel like I made it? And like that shit just comes from within. Like he said, you can't chase the happiness. You just got to like build the happiness, if that makes sense.
Yeah.
You know, and I've learned that this year and last year the most, which is so interesting, because that's when I started to go on the pod. We used to talk about it. Like,
Right.
that's my therapy. That's where I started to really realize things in real time about happiness, about freedom, and how it's different for everybody. Everybody's definition of that shit is different.
For me too, it's been like about a year and a half, I would say, that I'm realizing a lot of the things that you were like wishing for, you have now. Like you're able to do this podcast full time, nothing else. Like you should be so fucking happy. You know?
Amazing.
It's amazing. But now I'm like, well, no, I want more. And that's just this freaking, that's just life, you know? Whenever we get something, we want more. And it's just hard to be, you know, have gratitude and be grateful for what you have.
Yeah.
And so I think it's a lot of times, you know, when you're going through a moment of feeling like shit, you have to almost be like, you have to humble yourself. You have to be like, no, 2 years ago, I'd be fucking happy to be in the situation I am. If you don't do that, I feel you're just going to go through life like, I want more. And it just becomes this like toxic kind of circle that you never get out of.
Well, because 2 years ago, you were living mentally what you're doing now.
Yeah.
Right. So you saw it already. So now you got it and you were like, all right, this is really dope. But it doesn't feel as fresh because I was chasing that 2 years ago and now I got it. It's like a cat chasing its tail. Like when you get it, what is like, you know, what is it? You know?
Right.
And yeah, that's not the way to go. The way to go is to take everything one step at a time. And of course, always have, I think it's also important to keep the goals high at the same time.
Yeah.
Like I think that, and we've spoken about this all the time, I feel like it's very important to always have something to chase, as bittersweet as that is. I don't think I want to hit the mountaintop right now because there's nowhere else to go up from there. You know what I mean? You got to go back. Like, you know what I'm saying? So I feel like that's super bittersweet, especially in the industry that we're in, because we also have to put that out there for everybody to see. Yeah. It's not like nobody sees the shit. Everybody sees the shit. We're very transparent. That's what our brand is, you know? So it's hard.
I think, one thing, like when you are, you know, chasing more and you're always wanting more and you're not happy with what you have, it's hard when you do taste like a little bit of success and people start to see that and feel that and they're telling you like, you know, I'm proud of you. I see all that you're doing and stuff like that. And I think that's one thing I struggle with. Like I struggle with, I guess, like self-worth or like thinking I'm doing enough or thinking I'm good enough because like I'm not really proud of like all the things that from the outside perspective people are congratulating me on. Like when I put my head on the pillow at night, like I'm not okay up here.
Yeah.
And I think that's something that I really, you know, still struggle with because outside looking in, you could say, you know, you're doing amazing, but I'm not there yet mentally or spiritually. And there's so much for me to do that I don't know, like if I'll ever get to that point of actually just appreciating the fruits of my labor, you know, and just like actually understanding what I'm doing. So like appreciating and just understanding like self-worth is something that, I still struggle with.
Yeah. Do you guys think that like happiness is a choice?
That's a good question.
Happiness is a choice. I mean, it's so hard, you know, it's so hard to really think about happiness, right? Because it's so fleeting, you know, there's certain things that will make you happy, but then it's gone, you know, and if you're you can tell yourself I'm happy, but like, you know, if you're not happy, you know, and I think your actions, you should look at the way like you live your life, your habits, your actions, all these things, like when you are feeling good, when you would look at yourself as happy, and then when you're not, like even to the smallest things, right? Like if you're feeling good, you're happy, you let people cross the street in front of you, you let the old lady go in front of you, you don't care, you know, you hold the door open longer, let the person walk all the way down, whatever, because you're good. But like when shit's going wrong in your life, you don't give a fuck about anything. Traffic, everyone's a fucking asshole, right? Like everything pisses you off. You fucking anything. But like I'm not choose, you know what I'm saying? It's so hard to choose. So like I think if you just try to choose happiness all the time, I think it starts with like the way you're living your life. You know what I'm saying? Like the habits, the way you start your day, all those things will bring happiness, but I don't think you should like go and try to choose it because it's so up and down, you know?
Yeah, because I mean, if you were happy all the fucking time and you chose happiness all the time, you would never know really what happiness was because that's all that you had.
Exactly.
You know what I mean? And I think that's also a very bittersweet thing. And I also think that comes with the territory, though, of what we do. Because if we worked a regular 9 to 5 and every day was so monotonous and it was the same shit every day, it's the same shit every day. I kind of enjoy the ups and downs in a sense. I had a wake up call recently where I was like, I just realized that I wasn't doing the work on myself. One of the best quotes that I think that I've ever said is instead of chasing the butterflies, build a beautiful garden and then they're going to come to you. And I never take my own advice on that shit. And I'm just really starting to realize.
We're all able to do that.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And I just started to realize, I don't think that happiness is necessarily a choice. I think that happiness is something that you just build within yourself. And you can have your good days, you're going to have your bad days, but you need your bad days to know what good is. You need to be sad in order to know what happiness is at the end of the day.
Agree.
You know what I mean? So, but I think it's bittersweet, definitely.
Do you guys ever wish that you just kind of took like a 9-to-5 job and you didn't kind of do this?
I said that on one of the last internals that we did because I was having a really bad week. I was just having a bad work week. And I said, I was like, because one of my stories, part of my story that I talk about all the time, and I feel like it's getting redundant, so I probably won't talk about it much anymore. But like when I was 21, 22 years old, my father was in construction. He could have got me into the union, making decent pay, retirement set up, 401k, whatever the fuck. And I just didn't really want to do that. I was also with a girl that wanted that stability that early, and I didn't do it, and she left because I didn't take that job, and I wanted to follow my dreams. And when I have a bad week or when I'm just super overwhelmed, I do sometimes wish that I could go back and be like, yo, I wish I could have taken that job. But then when I snap out of it or I talk to Zach or I just look in the mirror and I realize like, nah, bro, you do not want to live that life. Like the ups and downs are very important. I would much rather an up and down than just a straight line. So the simple answer to that is no. But sometimes I do feel like that.
Yeah.
And I'm thankful that I have people that I could converse with that are on the same route as me that could be like, yo, you don't want to do that shit. Like I posted that shit on TikTok. You know how many people commented, yo, I live that life. You don't want this. I wish I was you. Like there is always going to be that. Always going to be that seesaw of somebody who works a 9-to-5 that wishes they were us.
Yeah.
And then there's always going to be the people that are like us that kind of when they're feeling down on themselves, I wish I took that 9-to-5.
Yeah.
And it's just like, nah, just be you.
Yeah.
At the end of the day, though, when you do a 9-to-5, you clock out. You know, people say like you clock out at 9-to-5, like you can rest your head on the pillow and go to sleep.
Not taking your work
I
home
don't
with you.
fucking think that's true. Because I think even when I was working a 9-to-5, I don't know if this is everyone, but I was still like, okay, but what more do I want out of life?
What were
so
you
I
doing?
think I was a sales rep. I was selling eyewear.
Okay.
Which was still like my first kind of taste into freedom because I created my own schedule. I went to see optometrists. Like I kind of made my own schedule. And I think that's what made me realize, wow, I went from like being in a 9-to-5, working in social media, like having to be there at 8 a.m. till 5. Already being in social media, like the hours should not be that because that's not how you get, it's not, creativity doesn't work that way. Anyway, so I went from that to a sales rep job and I was like, ooh, I like this freedom. I like the idea that like I can create my own schedule, which I feel like I was working more, but I wasn't like kind of being watched every second. Like, what are you doing?
Yeah.
I don't like that. I don't like that feeling of just, you know?
Yeah.
I think that's hard though. Because I think the bittersweet part to that is that, and I always equate this, and I say this all the time, going away to college. I didn't go away to college, right? I didn't go to college at all, really. But you don't have Big Brother telling you you have to go to class or you have to do this. You have to go and do it. It's the same thing with being self-employed. You don't have, some people need that schedule. Some people need that boss to call them at 9:01, yo, where the fuck are you?
Yeah.
You know, because now, like, I don't have my assistant anymore. I'm packing the orders again. I'm answering the emails. I'm doing everything. And I love it because I got back to my roots. But, like, there is nobody telling me that I have to go and do that shit. My bills are telling me I have to go and do that shit.
Yeah.
But, like, no person is telling me, get the fuck up and be in the office at this time and do this, that, and the third. And I feel like a lot of people don't realize that until you're running your own business and you realize that that fire has to come from here.
Yeah, 100%.
You know, and that's a lot.
I think it really depends on the person because not everyone is built to go and be that self-sustainable, self-accountability, you know, and have that from within.
For a long time.
Yeah. And because I hate that. I hate the aspect of someone like tells me you have to go do this and be here at this time and I have to go do it.
Like I want to do it.
I'll never forget. I was working a delivery job at a fucking like taco restaurant for my friend during COVID because I was like getting the unemployment and it was like off the book, you know, whatever.
Yeah.
And it just got to the point, I was like a couple months in and it just didn't sit right with me that like a dude like a couple years older could be like, yo, go clean the bathroom. and take out the trash. And I had to do it. And I had to do it. Like I was helpless in that moment. I had to go do that, or I was going to get fired, or it would be an issue. And I wrote in my notes. I still have the note. It was like in November of whatever 2021 or 2020, whatever year that was.
Yeah.
And I was like, I will never work for someone ever again. And I wrote that in my notes. And I don't want to do that because I just feel like we speak about this a lot of just like how we chose this lifestyle. So we can sit here and complain about the ups and downs and how hard it gets and how lonely it gets. But like we chose this. We can always go and get that 9 to 5. But like I would never trade what I'm doing because the highs are super high and the lows are super low. And I've learned that like there's so much beauty in those dark times, the rock bottoms, those low moments. Like, I mean, 3 of the worst things that's happened to me in my life, like all beautiful things came from them. Like my mom died when I was 12. Like that lit a fire in me
My
that
condolences.
I have to do something with my life. Like I have to make someone proud. The injury that limited me from playing college basketball again started the podcast, right? My girl that I loved broke up with me after 3 years, and the podcast completely took off because guess what? I started working on myself.
Right.
So like those tough times in your life, like I would never trade them because so much greatness came out of them. And I feel like when you are living that monotonous life, like there's not much room to go this way or this way. It's kind of flatlining.
That's very true, actually. I never looked at it that way.
Oh, yeah.
I think to go back to what you guys were saying, I think a lot of times people start and, open up their own business because they can't take authority. And so I feel like we're all similar in that sense where we just don't like people telling us what to do.
Yeah.
And that fire kind of just makes us branch out and say, okay, look, what can I do here? Because I can't fucking listen to someone tell me what to do.
Yeah.
And like, I'll work 10 times harder just to be able to make my own schedule and do things the way I want to do them. And so to that, I 100% agree.
I think that we talk about ego in a bad way all the time, but like that's ego in a good way. If you think
True.
about it.
And self-belief and confidence.
Of course,
You know,
yes,
I feel like it
100%,
leans
yes.
more because like the ego can be taken wrong.
That's what I'm saying.
So
Yeah, yeah,
like,
yeah,
there's
yeah,
good parts
yeah.
to the ego that you
Yeah.
can use to your advantage. A lot of people don't know how to control their ego, and that's
Yeah.
why it
that's
comes
where
off
it
as
blows.
arrogant
Yeah.
and
For sure.
narcissistic and all that shit.
Yeah.
But
Yeah.
I think if it's more of a self-belief thing, like
Confidence.
even though like I don't know what I'm doing, I believe I'm gonna figure it out.
Yeah.
That's how a lot of these people have made it. Like a lot of these CEOs of these billion-dollar companies, like they didn't know what the fuck they were doing when they got in. They just acted like they did and figured it out along the way because they knew, like, all right, I believe that I can do it.
No, I truly believe no one at the end of the day really knows what the fuck they're doing.
No.
Some people just fake it, keep going, and then they get there. But it's like no one really knows what they're doing. And when you think of it like that, like, yes, you might have experience in doing things, but everyone starts off doesn't know what they're doing. It's either you start or you just talk about starting and never start. But I think it's also important that like not everyone has to be a girl boss. Not every guy needs to open up his own business because then what? We're going to have no one working for any companies. Like,
True. It's very true.
I feel like a lot of times everyone like wants to branch out. I'm like, there's going to be nobody after if everyone goes out and does something. How are you going to have people working for you? So I think there's beauty in people who start their own businesses. There's also beauty in people who work for someone. So I think you need a little bit of all of that.
Yeah. Well, that's also why I like to keep, not to cut you off, I like to keep like younger kids from the neighborhood around me. Like I'm 30. I like to keep the 23, the 24, the 25-year-old that might have just got out of college that does want to start his own business, right? And I could resonate with that because I started my own business, was still working in restaurants for 5-6 years. But like I like to keep those kids around because they will work for me, but also work for themselves through working for me at the end of the day. And I think that's very important because like you said, not everybody could be a boss at the same time, right?
Yeah.
You do need to be an employee. I was a really good employee. I say all the time, and I talk to West Bay about this all the time, and not that I see him above me, but like I do in a sense because he's 34 years old and he's a creative. And like when we're together, I'm the number 2 to him. And I'm okay with that because I am the best number 2 in the world, right? And being a really good number 2 will teach you how to be that best number 1 in the world.
Yeah.
And that's the ego death in a sense where you need to be able to be like, there's people around me that I want to learn from. I'm still a boss. He doesn't tell me what to do. I don't tell him what to do. But we learn from each other. I might learn a little bit more from him than he learns from me. That doesn't mean that I'm an employee. We're partners at the end of the day. This is a partnership. And I think that's very important for kids out there to understand that if you're a young kid, you're not going to be the boss right away. You got to learn how to be the boss. You're not just born that way. It's not going to happen.
Yeah.
I didn't grow up around entrepreneurs at all. Literally, not one. Nobody in my family was an entrepreneur. You know what I'm saying? So it's bittersweet. This life is bittersweet. You learn as you go. You stack your days, especially in this industry. Look at them. How old is Joe Rogan?
50.
How old is Theo Vaughn? How old are all these people? Joe Rogan's got 30,000 episodes. Like, it's going to take time.
I know. I feel like a lot of people in our generation have this pressure of needing to be a millionaire,
Right now
in like their 20s. And I'm like, most people, like if you look at the percentage, don't have it until they're in their later like 40s,
Yeah, it's crazy.
you know?
Yep.
And so when you look at it that way, it's like, okay, relax, we can chill.
Yeah.
You know?
That's social media, though, I think, too.
Yeah.
Because
Oh my God, social media
crazy.
will, sometimes I'm like, I wish I didn't even have social media,
Yeah.
which is crazy because I'm like, I'm chilling with my friends. We could be out to dinner and I'm not enjoying the moment. And I'm more and more I start to realize, and now I'm like, okay, put your phone away, like put it in your bag, because if you're not aware, you're just like, what am I doing? Like I'm out here with the people I love and I'm not even present.
Not even here.
Like what's going on? And I feel like I felt that a lot of times, even when like I kind of told myself, okay, Alessia, like you're not going to go out tonight because you have work to do. And then, you know, when you don't listen to what you told yourself you have to do and you go out, you're not having fun. You told yourself you're going to stay into work on the things you need to work on. So when you go against the things that you said you were going to do for yourself, you're out, but you're miserable. You're not actually there. So now I started to like kind of realize that I never regret a night in, but I absolutely do regret a night out. And I'm not saying like don't go out. And I think it's a balance, you know. Some people are also, they get a lot of fuel through, you know, being out, which I do.
Of course.
But I'm realizing that it also takes away from my energy too. So like I'm an introvert also, as I'm realizing, you know?
100%. But I also think going out is important because you don't know who you're going to meet, especially when I met the person that makes my clothes out. Like this, you know what I'm saying? Like I talk about that all the time.
When did you start?
I started making clothes in 2014.
And what was the inspo behind it?
I was supposed to be a professional fighter.
Okay.
And I dropped out of college to pursue that. I had tore my ACL in high school playing basketball.
Oh my God, I made a video about that and I'm getting the freaking attacked for, but we don't have to talk
about what?
The ACL. I'm like, every athlete.
No, it's the truth. No, everybody has that cliche.
I did it because I knew.
It's the truth. No, but it's the truth, though.
I know.
Everybody has that shit.
Yeah.
But I had dropped out of college and I had nothing, bro. And I was delivering fucking Mexican food for a spot in the hood by my house. And there was a kid that was working there and he wanted to start a clothing brand and he had to design, but he was a young kid. He had to be 15 years old and I had to be 18, 19 at the time. And we just partnered in on it. But it was really hard and it didn't work. And like 2-3 years into that, I was 22. He had to be 18 years old. He quit because he was like, yo, I don't want to do this shit no more. But I had nothing because I dropped out of college. I was supposed to be a fighter. I didn't want to be a construction worker. I didn't have none. And I just kept it going and just kept it going. And we started to go out a little bit more. I was working a lot, so I had a little bit of money, but I had friends that had money, so we would just go out. We would go to Bounce, we would go here, we would do that.
Oh my God, Bounce, I'm dead.
Yeah, but the doorman at Bounce at the time, shout out to Alex, called me one day. He was like, yo, I got somebody, he's a painter too. He was like, yo, I got somebody at my studio. I think that can help you. Why don't you come by? And I was like, because I'm introverted too. I don't want to leave the house sometimes. And I'm like, oh, fuck, should I go, bro? I wasn't going to go. And then I said, fuck it, let me just go. And I went, and I met Pete, shout out to Pete. And he brought me downstairs and he was like, yo, this is what I can make for your brand. I have my own. And he popped his trunk open. He had shorts, he had hoodies, he had this and that. Every streetwear brand goes through this phase of like, I want to make something, but I don't have the means to it. It might not even be financial. It might just be, I don't have the plug to make a cut and sew item.
Yeah.
Right. And this kid opened up this trunk. It's probably like a drug dealer, like meeting his plug. And I was like, holy shit, I can make this with my brand. It opened the world up to me. So my point is that like I'm introverted and I try not to go out. But going out, being in the right place, right time, and getting lucky is very important.
Yeah.
Very important. My brand would not be where it is today. Maybe it still could have been, but it wouldn't be here in this timeline right now if I didn't meet Pete at that time due to who I met while I was out one night. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
And it's just very poetic to me. I think everything happens for a reason.
You would say you believe, okay, so I was going to go off that everything happens for a reason.
Absolutely.
So I feel like that saying, people confuse it a lot. So everything happens for a reason. You're essentially saying that life is not in your hands.
Yeah.
Do you?
Yeah.
And you go by that?
I think that I think that life is in your hands in a sense that like you're making the decisions. I don't think that everything is like set in stone. I don't think that life is already mapped out. Like when we're gonna die is set in stone. Like I don't believe in any of that.
I do.
But I do think that everything happens for a reason. But I think that you're the cause for that reason. I think that you need to put one foot in front of the other. I left my house that night to go meet my boy Alex and met Pete for a reason. I didn't want to leave the house. Something told me, yo, go. When we did our first episode, I was this close to because I was really going through it. I was going through a breakup. I was not in a good place at all. I had went out the night before. I was hungover. Like I was doing a lot of drugs at the time. I was partying. I was doing a lot. I woke up the next day. How am I going to go meet these kids right now and do this fucking podcast episode in the state that I'm in? I do not want to do this. We're going to reschedule. Had it in my phone. I just had a really bad conversation with the girl that I was battling with at the time. And something just told me, bro, get in the fucking car and just go there. And look what happened from that shit.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? You know how poetic that shit is, bro? I almost did not come. We would probably not be here. We probably would have never rescheduled. Would have been like whatever.
Right.
And whatever. And I got in the car and I went there and we had the greatest, in my opinion, and we've had great episodes. I think that that's still the greatest episode that we've ever done together.
Yeah.
And what are your thoughts on everything happens for a reason?
Yeah, I mean, I struggled with that when I was a kid, like losing my mom. And then as I got older, you know, I tried to find like, is there a reason? Like, what is the reason? But I never knew what the reason was, right? And now I can look, you know, at 27 years old, 15 years later, and just kind of understand it. Does it sit right with me? No, but I can see like what it did for me, right? So I can find a reason. So I don't think everything happens for a reason, but I think that you can find a reason in everything.
Right. I like that take.
Yeah, and I just think that when you get those intuitive feelings, right? Like those things that you can't explain, right? Something's just telling you to get up and go. Like I think you have to listen to them because like those windows of opportunity are so small and like they could close and never open again. And you know, we're big believers like in the butterfly effect, and I think it really relates to life. Like, have you ever seen the movie with Ashton Kutcher?
Ashton Kutcher.
Oh, I hope not. Because if you haven't, you better fucking cut.
Yeah,
She's
go.
going home to watch
No,
the
watch it
Butterfly
tonight. Like you really
Yeah,
should. Like
bro.
it will.
With Ashton Kutcher?
Yeah, butterfly effect. So like
He's going through the ringer right now.
Yeah,
Is
like,
he really?
Yeah,
Yeah,
like
yeah,
the whole
yeah.
kitty
Is he?
stuff.
Yeah.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
I don't.
Yeah.
Too up
Yeah,
there.
but well, this was young Ashton Kutcher.
yeah.
You know,
This is Ashton
after-
Kutcher's best movie.
Whatever. At
Yeah.
this point, everyone's involved in that.
Well,
so.
yeah.
But
sure.
yeah, basically, like the butterfly effect is that you can change. Like if you change one thing, it changes everything. You know, so you go like something bad happens to you and you try to go rewrite history and change that. But guess what? Like when you change that one thing, everything else changes around you and it could be worse than the thing that already happened to you. And so I think like when we try to nitpick certain situations in our life and wish things played out differently, it's pointless. You know what I'm saying? Like you're driving yourself insane. It's just like find the reason that this happened. Sometimes like that reason is going to be shitty. It's going to fuck you up for a long time. But like use it as something, right? Like you have to like that's
Absolutely.
why I'm a big believer. Like my favorite book of all time is The Alchemist, and it's and you know it's the science of alchemy. Is turning like copper into gold, right? Like turning like these bad situations into something beautiful. And I just think, you know, living by that method of like, all right, this is happening for a reason. It sounds cliche, but like, what else are you going to do? You know, you're going to try to figure out and drive yourself insane of like, all right, well, if I would have done this, or if this person said this, or if I would have sent this text, it's like, bro, you can't fucking change it. So it's like, why are you doing that? You're just raising anxiety and stress for no reason instead of just being like, all right, well, there's something good that's going to come out of this no matter what. I just have to find it.
Okay.
100%. It's like the woman stuck in traffic on.
Yeah, 9/11. Yeah.
I talk about it all the time.
Yeah.
I never forget when I read that woman stuck in traffic on the Bell Parkway or BQE during on September 11, 2001, and she's hitting on fucking stereo. Fuck, I'm gonna be late to work. My boss is gonna kill me. Fuck, yada yada. And she never made it to work, and she wasn't in that building when it went down. And she's sitting there cursing at herself that she's stuck in traffic, not even realizing that God just fucking say, oh, whoever she believes in,
Crazy.
just saved her life by being in traffic.
Yeah.
You know, and
Think
it's
about
just
how
such
many-
a little thing.
Yeah,
Traffic.
that's what I'm saying.
You
Think
know what
about
I'm
how many
saying?
times we do that.
Yeah.
You know, like we're like pissed off in traffic, or something's going on at home. Your dog won't come in the fucking house. You know,
When it's like we
it
don't
could have
even know
saved you.
why we're like the reason could be better off.
Yeah, for
So
sure.
that's why I think like I kind of try and stay very neutral in situations. Good things happen, bad things happen. I kind of I don't want to say like I'm numb, and I don't know if that's completely a good thing, but I think it's just more the idea that I don't know, like everything, my take on everything happens for a reason is kind of like, well, whether or not I choose left or right, that's where I was going to go. So it might not be like, wait, how can I explain this? Okay, so let's say I'm not going to live my life saying, oh, fuck, I want this for myself and do nothing, okay? I'm still going to choose a path between left and right. But in my mind, I'm like, okay, well, I made the decision, but like the decision has already been made for me. So regardless whether I choose path 1, 2, 3, it's still going to take me to where I'm going to go. Yeah. But I'm not going to live my life saying, oh, I'm just going to wait for all of this to happen. Mm-hmm. And so this way I feel like I get a lot less disappointed because I just like I'm numb in the sense where like I just assume that that is my path and that's what God wants for me. Yeah. So I think it takes a lot of pressure off things.
For sure.
Yeah, 100%. 100%. The butterfly effect really changed my life. Watching that movie.
Yeah.
And just it's not even the movie, it's the concept behind it that literally, like, the butterfly effect, why they call it that, is that a butterfly flaps its wings and causes a hurricane somewhere else, you know? Yeah. And when you think about shit like that, I honestly, in the beginning, it kind of fucked me up because I have OCD, like diagnosed OCD. So I try to really, I have this compulsion to want to control everything, right? So when I watched that movie, I used to like overthink, where am I going to go eat tonight? If I go here instead of there, what's going to change in my life? Not really realizing that, like you said, it was already chosen for me. Yeah. Like, you know what I'm saying? Like,
you
not
can't live your life like that, but like you just have
to. Like you just relax. Do what you want to do. Don't overthink whatever the fuck you're overthinking. Just let shit be the way that it's going to be. Yeah. And maybe in hindsight, look back on it and be like, holy shit, like when I talk about the Alex and the Pete thing, or like if I didn't go there, imagine. But I did. Yeah. So stop thinking about that shit.
I also think it makes you look at happiness differently.
For sure.
Because you're just kind of like, okay, well, I'm not going to be mad about a situation when I don't know what the outcome would have been if it wasn't that. So that's where like me being just kind of like neutral in situations has made whether something good happens, whether something bad happens, it's kind of just like, well, that's what's meant to be and keep going. And that sounds depressing, but it's just like, I don't know. I found that it's been like kind of nice.
Yeah, I don't think it's depressing. I think it's real.
Yeah. I just think you have to just accept. I think when you live that way, it's just like the most stoic, composed, balanced way to live. Like, I am at where I am in life right now because of me. Like, nothing else. Every single thing, every decision I've made, every person I've met, relationship, you name it, I'm here right now because I made those decisions. Yeah. And if you can do that, like, you can go to bed at night and sleep at peace. But like when you put your happiness in other people and you put your life in other people's hands, that's when you have regrets because they're making the decisions for you. So now you're in the position now completely out of your control. Someone else put you there. And that's when that shit will fuck you up.
But then again, like, I feel like we live our life through the experiences we had. Like, if I'll put myself in your situation where you lost your mom when you were younger, I don't know if I'd have that same perspective, you know? So I feel like it really depends on your experiences and what you've been through. Like, if I lost a family member, I probably wouldn't think this way. Yeah. I'd be like, why the fuck did this happen to me? Like, why did I deserve this?
Yeah, hell yeah.
You know?
I can't even imagine. We talk about that all the time. We talk about that all the time because it's just like, you want to think that everything, not even want to think, you know that everything happens for a reason. But like, I find myself cursing at God sometimes. Like, why the fuck did this not happen for me yet? I've been putting one foot in front of the other for so long. Yeah. Like, why? You know what I mean? And you're like blaming somebody else. And it's like, it's all on you at the end of the day. And everything happens for a reason. Or everything, like when you say everything happens for a reason, if something didn't happen, it was also for a reason. Yeah. You know what I mean? Yeah. And that's like a hard perspective to have when, again, we work for ourselves and where we're going to go is based on us. It's not like we work for a company that has like these goals where if you hit this, then you make this amount, and you hit this and you make this amount. Like, we work in an industry where it's like, and I mean creative, not even just pod, like just a creative umbrella that it's just like, you need to put one foot in front of the other and understand. I tell people all the time from the clothing brand perspective, I want to make a brand. I want to do this. Where do I start? I say, you know where you start? Understand that I did this for 7 years and didn't make $1. Okay? So think about that for a second. You still want to do it? You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like, so that's really where, like, being a creative is bittersweet in a sense because you could work your ass off for a long fucking time.
Did you ever have moments where you were going to give up?
Fuck, hell yeah. Even within the past 2 years, being at the height that I've been at compared to where I was at before, thinking to myself, damn, I don't know if I want to do this shit no more because now, just from the business standpoint, like being a creative and being an entrepreneur, there's a very fine line there because you got to figure out what's going to sell and what's going to pay the bills and what's going to make money, but you also want to make something that's really dope to you, and you're hoping that the two cross together, but sometimes they don't, you know? And you get to the point where I'm like not even enjoying doing this shit no more. Not even enjoying being a creative. Like, and clothes is just one medium. And we talk about this all the time. I want to write films, and I want to write movies, and I want to do this, and I want to do that. Right now, it's just clothes. But I snap back into it, and I realize, like, nah, I love doing this shit.
Yeah.
Realize that, like, 20-year-old you is crying
be
right
so
now.
happy.
He is 20-year-old me is literally crying right now, looking at me and who I'm friends with, and how much clothing items that I've sold, and I'm in my warehouse every day now looking at like there is nobody from my neighborhood where I'm from that's done anything remotely close clothing brand wise to what I've done.
Yeah.
And it's still not enough for me, but it really grounds me to think like, wow, I'm really doing what I said that I was going to do. Even if I'm not where I want to be yet, I'm only 30 years old.
Yeah.
A lot of these fashion designers, they hit their stride when they're like 40. Like we were
But
just
see,
talking
you're
about.
keeping yourself in check, which is really good. So
Yeah, for
every
sure.
time you're going negative,
Yeah.
you're like, I'm only 30. These
Yeah.
things that you do kind of bring you back in place, which are really important to do, or else you're going to be off to the rails.
Well, yeah, and it's also important to have people around you, and that's why I'm so
For
thankful for
sure.
the pod. I probably wouldn't be in the mental space that I am right now if it wasn't for the pod.
Yeah.
And if it wasn't for the best friends also outside of the pod that I do have that are like, bro, because most of my friends do have 9-to-5s, and they look at me like, not that they wish, like sometimes I wish that I was them, and I'm sure sometimes they look at me and they wish that they
for
had the freedom
sure.
that I had,
For
and I'm
sure.
like, there's that, you know, but they're like, yo, bro, I wish that you could see yourself from the outside perspective.
Yeah.
Because you're really doing some shit that you said 10 years ago that you were going to do and now you're going to do.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? So it's really hard to, you got to keep people around you that ground you like that. You got to ground yourself, of course. You have to be
Humble
your anchor.
yourself sometimes,
But you have to,
yeah.
100%. But you also have to have the people around you that could respectfully humble you at the same time.
I have one question about your clothing line. You come up with all the designs?
I'm the creative director, yeah. So like I know a lot of people hear that and they're like, what the fuck is that? And the best way that I could put that is that like I have the ideas up here, but I can't really do them myself
So you have someone
digitally.
create.
So I have, let's say, a West Bay or another graphic designer where I sit down and I tell them, yo, listen, here's a reference. Here's the aesthetic that I'm going for. Maybe this is the color, or like I'm working on Outwear Boxing Club, for instance, right now. I'll use different references and send them to my graphic designer. I want Outwear in this font, but change this letter, but do this, that, and the third. So I'm the creative director. So the idea sparks with me, but this would be nowhere if it wasn't for the people that are around me.
Right.
You cannot do everything yourself.
you
No matter
can't.
what fucking creative thing that you do in your life,
Yeah.
you cannot do this shit by yourself. You need to make sure that the team that's around you is like, I've had, bro, how many clips have I had that I've done 7 figures because you saw the fucking perspective and I didn't? He does the clips. I don't do the fucking clips. I say it, but I forgot what I said. He goes through the fucking clips for hours and looks at them and he's like, wow, I think this, that, and the third. We've done over 10, me personally, I've probably done over 10 million between TikTok and Instagram because of Zach's perspective. I might have said it, so the clip wouldn't exist if it wasn't for me, but the clip also wouldn't exist if it wasn't for him. You know what I'm saying? So there's this seesaw there that's so fucking important.
sure.
And you can't force it either. It just happens.
Yeah.
We didn't know each other from a hole in the wall. You know what I mean?
Right. And what happens when, let's say you create a design, you're so happy with it, and then you put it out there and you don't get the reaction you want? I'm just curious because obviously you put so much blood, sweat, and tears, right? And you want people to love it as much as you love it. But what happens when it doesn't translate?
You got to keep it pushing, but it's definitely not easy because I look at it from a creative perspective and I get that ego death and that punch to the gut where it's like, damn, I thought that shit was really dope and it didn't hit the way that I thought it did. But then I also, even more recently, like where the economy has been, I look at it from an entrepreneurial standpoint, like that shit was dope, but maybe people just didn't have the money to spend then, or maybe
Gaslight
they didn't
yourself.
think that it
Let's
was
go.
dope.
I'm kidding.
But like, you know what I'm saying?
sure,
So I
for
really
sure.
try to figure out, like, it's hard, but I'm 80% creative and 20% entrepreneur, so it hits me a little bit different. Yes, for sure, 100%. And that's why it's very hard also being a creative. When you create something, you put it out for the world to judge, and then everybody could see it. Not everybody knows if it sells out. A lot of these brands do smoke and mirrors. They post something, they claim that it's sold out, whatever the fuck. But like,
Yeah.
and that shit'll bleed out in your creative process later if you're insecure. And that happened to me for 2 years. 2022, we did the most revenue that we had ever done, and I got very complacent, and it just went like this after that. And now we're like right back up here on the roller coaster, and we're gonna get, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
But like, when you get insecure over a design or over an episode or a guest that doesn't do what you thought it was gonna do, you need to really, really dial and anchor yourself back and realize, nah, keep going.
Yeah.
Because something hit before. Just because this is not hitting now, it might not be because it's not dope. You might not be pushing it out to the right people, or maybe the right people didn't see it, or maybe you need to post it 3 months later and regurgitate your content, or maybe this design didn't work on this color t-shirt, but I drop it in 6 months and it might work on it. There's a lot there. There's so much there, and I just realized you got to be able to step back and look at it from a different perspective and understand that it's not personal. It's very hard not to take it personal. It's like being a comedian going on stage, nobody laughs at your jokes. Doesn't mean it wasn't funny.
Right.
If a tree falls in the fucking woods and doesn't make and nobody hears it, doesn't make a sound. Yeah, but nobody heard it. But it still made a fucking sound.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? So
the fact that you said you're 80% creative and you managed to create a business is really impressive, because I don't know if you realize that, but a lot of creative people will never start a business. They don't have both.
Yeah.
You know?
Hard. Yeah, for sure.
So I think
that's why a lot of them hire like CEOs. Like, I don't want to be the CEO. It took me a really long time to realize that. And like, we're not in a position to go hire a fucking CEO. We're not a fucking multi-million.
You'll get there.
We'll get there. But like, I just want to be the creative person. I just want to put the ideas out. I don't want to worry about the budget. I don't want to worry about this. I don't want to worry about none of that. I want to create. I want to direct the movie. I don't want to be the producer of the movie. I want to give me the fucking funds and let me go and, like, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
And it took me a really long time to realize that. And that's just who I am.
Yeah.
At the end of the day.
I do speak a lot about relationships on my podcast, and I'd like to like end it off on that. So maybe we can start with Zach. You were saying how she left you when you had your injury. Is that right?
No. It was my senior year of playing college basketball, like right as I was kind of taking the pod serious again, but it didn't pop off yet.
Okay.
Yeah.
And do you feel comfortable talking a little
I can talk about anything.
Okay. Have you been in a relationship since then?
Yeah.
Okay. Are you single now or in a
Yes.
relationship? Okay. So you guys are both single?
Yeah, I got somebody.
What does that mean?
I mean, I have a weird relationship. What's the word? Like, calendar in my life. I was with somebody for a really long time, and got really complacent.
Okay.
And it just wasn't working on both sides, and we broke up. And then I was single for a little while, and I was just dibbling dabbling with people that were the complete opposite of who she was. She is a great person. That was all on me. And during that time, like, I went through a phase in 2 years where I broke up with somebody, and then I got broken up with by somebody else, right? And now I'm just kind of in a phase where, like, I don't think that I should be in a full-blown committed relationship because I am building myself up again. It's hard. It's hard when you're like not where you want to be, and goes back to the happiness thing where you're not really happy with yourself because you were focusing on. I'll take a quote from the last episode that you did. I don't know his name, but you guys were talking about relationships a lot, and he was like, the woman in your life should be the most important person in your life, but not the most important thing in your life. And I dealt with something where I was on both sides of the spectrum. I was with a woman that I was the most important thing and person in her life, and it shouldn't be that. The purpose should be. And then I was with a woman where she was the most important thing and person in my life, and she shouldn't have been. She should have been the person, but not the thing that was the most important. And now I'm in a sense where, like, I have a really, really good grip on self-awareness on who I am, and like I need to take it very, very slow with whoever I'm with and talking to right now because I'm not where I want to be yet. You know what I'm saying? And I can't be in a relationship fully if I don't love myself first again. And I'm just now finally falling back into like loving myself And then slowly but surely that'll, you know what I'm saying? But
Yeah.
it's hard. It's hard when you're in that position where you fucked up and then somebody else fucked up and now you're just like, you take a step back
For sure.
and just like fix myself again.
Yeah.
You know what I'm
Yeah.
saying? It's hard.
Yeah.
That's where I'm at. Relationship wise anyway.
Yeah. Oh, relationships. No.
What about you? You want to talk about relationships? Where you at in your
Oh
life?
my God. I don't know. I feel like I agree with you, but I think sometimes like we speak like that. We're like, okay, well, I want to be at the best version of myself when I meet someone. And I don't feel like that's always how it works.
No, it's not.
You know, so it's like we say, oh, we don't want, and like we're kind of closed off to something when it's like, truthfully, whenever we meet someone, we're never going to be exactly where we want to be. We're never going to be 100% happy with ourselves. I think there's always going to be things.
For sure.
So I think like we use that as a mask because I say that all the time too. I'm like, well, when I'm ready, like it'll happen, but it's like, no. And also I've been single for like 3.5 years and I think I have it all down packed. I'm like, fuck, like I figured it out. Like I'm going to be the best in someone's life now because I took the time. And it's like, no, because when I'll get in a relationship, things will come up and I'll be like, fuck, I thought I figured it out. I thought, you know, but then again, like nothing tests you more than a relationship. Then you realize, fuck, I do still have shit I need to work on. I do have things I need to compromise for. And when you're single, you kind of lose that, right? Because you think you've become, I guess, the best version of yourself, but then nothing tests you more like a fucking relationship.
Yeah, because your partner will bring out a side of you that you don't even know that you might have had.
Yeah.
Right. Like they could pull things out of you because obviously every partner, every person we deal with is a little bit different, right? So like that person can bring out a side that someone else didn't, and now you realize, whoa, this is something that I have to work on. And I think we do that a lot. Like we wait for everything to be perfect to like actually start living our life. And we want things to, I have to look this way. I have to have this much money. My career has to be going in this direction. My mental health has to be here. And then I'm going to start living my life and dating and having fun. It's like, it'll never be there.
That's the thing. And also, like, I used to always say, like, I'm just going to date a rich guy. Like, I'm not dealing with someone who's like, grinding. And now I've completely changed my mind on that.
Yeah.
Like completely, because I'm like, okay, I'm going to go meet the guy who has millions of dollars that's going to cheat on me. Okay. Well, listen, not putting that out in the universe, but I'm just saying like, I'm ready to build with someone. And I think that is actually way more, I think you guys were talking about it on your podcast. I think you might've mentioned it, how you have to date for potential.
Yeah.
And I think it's true. I think a lot of women want everything right away, but they're not willing to build with someone. And I think like I look back at my parents and they built together. And I think it creates such a much better relationship because you're building together, you're learning each other. I feel like we just want everything right away. And it's, I don't think always the best thing.
Yeah, I think it's hard. I saw Andrew Tate talk about this too, and it was actually like, what are your thoughts on him? Do you like him? Don't like him?
I do, honestly, I do like him. I didn't always like him, but when you really understand the message of what he's really trying to say, you're like, okay, the things he says that are stupid, like he's just
right. He's clip farming.
You gotta try to separate the message from the messenger.
Yes.
Yeah.
And the reason it slaps so hard is because it's true.
Yeah, a lot of it's true. Yeah, if it wasn't true,
If
people
it
wouldn't
wasn't
take
true,
it that
it
way.
would never go
100%.
viral.
No, 100%.
It would never go viral, I'll tell you
100%.
that.
He knows what he's doing.
Yeah, so
Let's talk. Let's keep it a buck.
Yeah. He was sitting with a bunch of women talking about just like where like men and women's peak value is. And he was saying how women don't want to wait for the man, right? Like they want a man that's ready right now. And he was like, that's not a fair way to like look at life, especially like when you want to date. He was like, women's peak value a lot of the time is 18 to 25 when they look the best, right? That's when they're the hottest. That's when their peak value is. For most men, your peak value is 30, 35, 40. When he was like, I had to fucking work 20 years to be on the yacht. It's like, he's like, you had to post an Instagram picture.
Yeah.
And that's the difference where it's like it's not fair sometimes for like women, especially now, like in our 20s when, you can go to Miami and get the guy and that drives the Lambo and he's got the fucking AP on.
And he's probably a fraudster.
Yeah.
And
he's going to cheat on you and he's going to treat you like shit and it's going to be cool for 6 months and then you're going to see your friends that like, waited it out with a guy and they're happily married and they start a family. And guess
Yeah.
what? It's like sometimes like you missed out on the great guy that was right in front of you
Yeah.
to settle for what? A lifestyle to post on Instagram?
For sure.
And it's just like I don't think a lot of women see that in the moment because it's so tempting, right? I could only imagine. I mean,
Of course.
it's
Yeah.
so fucking tempting.
Especially
I could
with social
imagine.
media nowadays. Like, you see these
Yeah,
shits going
I
on.
mean,
like I want that. Not realizing you could probably have that if you built with the right person.
Right.
Like I have a lot of baggage. I have so much baggage, bro. From even from my parents or even from a past relationship that I need a woman that's going to be able to see that baggage and understand that I have it, and then I'm working on putting it in the closet and locking the door.
Yeah.
But like, don't just dip on me when I'm doing that.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? Like you said, you said it so perfect. You do need to date for potential and not for where the guy is already at, unless you're looking to be 20 years old dating a 40-year-old man.
Yeah. Do you
At the
think
end of the day.
most men have that insecurity where they're like gonna open up to a woman and then she's just gonna like leave him?
I do because it's happened to me before so many times.
Yeah,
You know, it hasn't happened to me in every relationship, but it's happened to me in some really important ones.
Yeah.
And I am a very open and transparent person. I'm just very vulnerable. If I like you, I like you. I'm not a casual person. I don't casually date. I don't casually have sex. It's just not me. And sometimes it's hard because you think that if one person's going to do it, you think that the next person's going to do it, and the next person's going to do it. And it's also on the other side. I've been with women that have baggage, and I was like, yo, I see the baggage. Let's work on it together. I'm not just going to dip on you.
Which I think is beautiful.
You know what I'm saying? But it's hard because you also have to pick and choose. Not
Yeah,
everybody is.
sometimes
you
it's-
know what I mean?
You have to
So,
think of your piece too, right?
100%.
Depending on what it is.
Yeah, for sure.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's not easy.
It's hard. I mean,
Dating nowadays is not easy, bro.
yeah, it's hard. Like, opening up. I don't know. I felt like I've been too open sometimes, too soon.
For sure.
And I can tell, like, energy maybe changed a little bit.
Yeah.
And that's just kind of like who I am, though. So like, I'm not gonna. I don't. I've done that so many times. Like, I've changed who I actually am to try to fit the needs of someone else.
I've done that too.
To make to make them feel more comfortable, but I'm making myself uncomfortable. Like, I'm walking on eggshells around them,
Yeah.
and I'm not even being who I genuinely am. And I can sit there and say, I love you, I'm happy, I'm in this beautiful relationship, we post a picture, but it's like, bro, when we're together, like, I'm thinking about what I have to say every time I say something to you, because I don't want to say the wrong thing because I'm
Right.
trying to be someone I'm not. And like, if you're in that type of relationship, that's like your number one sign, like, get the fuck out.
Yeah.
Because you need to be with someone that loves you for you.
For sure.
And you can be yourself.
No, that's so true. And in this last year, I feel like I was like, Alette, just be your fucking self, because you're only going to attract the person who's down with that.
Yep.
So, like, why are we hiding behind, oh, this is who we could be? Like, no, just be your fucking self. And I've honestly, I see such a difference even in dating when I'm myself now, because I'm like, okay, whether you like it or not, great. Like, you're either there and you're down to, like, come through the ride with me, or you're like, no, this is not my type. I don't like the way you act. And then it's fine. And then you just kind of get to your answer quicker. Like, we're not for each other. But it takes a while to get there, honestly.
Yeah, because
Everyone wants to be liked, you know?
It's nice to be with someone. It
Yeah.
does feel
Oh, yeah,
good
yeah,
to
I
be
hate
with
being-
someone.
yeah, I hate
you know?
I'm not
being
gonna
Like-
lie, it's 3.5 years, and I'm like, hey, where the fuck's my husband? Like, well, where's my ring? I'm 28 by 30. I better. It's just the way I saw life was like 28. I was already, ring on my finger. 30, I was popping a baby, and now I'm like, fuck, the timeline ain't looking so good.
I think it's changed, though. I think 28,
I hear
30
you,
is
but,
different
like-
than it was
Very,
20
very
years
different.
ago.
Very
I do think it's different just because, like, just the timeline. All of our parents
So
were...
fun being a guy, right? Being like, I peek at my
Oh, well,
30.
no, I mean, I understand.
No, I get that.
You know
but
what I'm saying?
I just
It's-
watched two of my best friends get married this year. 94 babies, same, being best friends since we're 15 years old. Like, I went to Italy to watch my best friend get married. Well, the best friend got married 2 weeks prior to that. And I'm just sitting here thinking, like, damn, like, not that I'm alone, because I'm not, but like, I'm nowhere near where I thought
Right.
that I was going to be
Yeah.
at 30 years old, right? My best friend got married. I turned 30. My next best friend got married. You know
Yeah.
what I mean? Like, and I was in the same mindset. I was just like, damn, bro, I thought at 30, not that I was going to be having kids by now, because I also date younger, because
Okay, Andrew Tate.
no, but like, not Leonardo DiCaprio, you hit 25, I'm cutting you off.
Yeah,
but
yeah, yeah.
like, I date younger because, and I feel like, and you could let me know if you think I'm bullshitting, because I'm not. But
Yeah,
like,
I'm curious.
I didn't figure out what I wanted to do with my life for real, until I was like 26 years old, right? And then like was doing At War for 10 years, from 2014 till now, but from 2014 to 2019, that shit was a hobby. That shit didn't become my career in 2020. And like I didn't start making real money then. I started making real money 2 years later than that when I was 28. And I'm still trying to build myself up. So how am I going to be with a woman that at the time is 28 or now at the time is 30 when I'm not ready to really, really like go buy a house and have kids because I'm still building up my business. But I could go and be with the woman that let's say is 24, 25, 26 because they are probably still also finding themselves. So by the time that they're 30, I'm going to be what, 33, 34? I will be where I want to be to have kids and to get married and have, you know what I'm saying?
I don't agree. You're putting too much rules, too many like chill, because I don't know. I think that's very... It depends the person. Like, I don't know. I'm 28 and I'd meet someone and like, I'm not the type of person who would be with someone and be like, I need the picket fence. Like, I need all of that.
Yeah.
Like, I think also we're living in a generation where like you could fucking rent most of your life.
Oh,
you know,
for
there's
sure.
so many.
I was just using that as a thing.
No,
but I get
for
what
sure,
you're saying.
for sure. But
like
like,
building a family. I want to build a family and I'm not ready yet. And I'm not going to be with somebody that because also like we just said, women have a different biological clock.
Right.
I want to have kids.
Yeah.
But like I can't be with somebody.
Obviously don't go date a 40-year-old.
Not even go date a 30-year-old because like she might be feeling like, yo, fuck, I have this 5-year window now, which might not be true. People are having kids at 38, 40 years old. I don't mean that anyway. But I'm just saying like I'm not ready right now for that. And I feel like a 30-year-old in this time is gonna be thinking of that.
Makes so much sense. And that's why
just
women
date
older
a little bit.
And that's why women date older because
sure.
we want someone who's kind of ready for that. So that makes sense.
Because I will be ready in the next 2-3 years. I'm setting my life up for that, but like I'm just not there right now. You know, and I don't want to bring a 30-year-old into my life that might be thinking like,
okay, right but a now baby at 33 is not that bad.
No, it's not. No, for sure. And I overthink it. Of course, I've been through the ringer in relationships, period, whether it was self-inflicted or whether it wasn't. I've just been through it before, and I'm trying to be as self-aware as I possibly can.
Yeah.
Be very open with whoever it is that's in my life. This is where I'm at.
For sure.
This is what I'm building towards. And again, to go back to that quote, you could be the most number one person in my life, but right now, my purpose and my thing, you're not going to be the most important thing in my life right now.
Right,
but you're
right.
going to have to be the most important thing in my life when I'm building a family and you're my wife and I'm not there yet to put you above my purpose right now.
Yeah.
You will be at some point, but it's just not right now. So.
Yeah, and I think that's fair. I just think we put too much emphasis on like just expectations, and we say that we need to be in this place at this time at this age, or we get into a relationship and we put expectations. I need my partner this way, that way. They need to treat me like this. They need to look this way. They need to dress like this, and it's like you're putting all this emphasis on how you want these things to go that are completely out of your control. All you can do is control.
It goes back to the beginning of this episode, right?
It's completely out of your control. So I just think like the right person. I mean, we've had that talk about the fairy tale, Disney love, and I said I really don't believe in that shit.
I don't honestly.
I think you have to, like when you said you have to choose happiness, I don't know. I think you have to choose love because like I've been with someone, right, for 3 years. I've been in 2-year relationships. I know it's not that long, right? But after like the first 6 months, like, yeah, you love that person, but it's a different type of love than the first 3 months, right? Like, so you have to continue to find ways to love them and be like, I want to be with you because like I'm choosing you, not because you keep doing this thing that makes me happy, because we're not going to continue to make each other happy or bring that love all the time like it once was.
No, that honeymoon phase love, it hits different, bro.
Yeah, I think it's also like a plant only grows if you nurture it, if you water it. So I think it's kind of the same thing with a relationship. Either you're both putting in the work and want it to work, it will work. But you have to both equally, I think, want it. Yeah. And that's the hard thing is that, you know, and also I think in relationships, it goes, 60-40, it fluctuates. Yeah. And we have to be okay with that. Like, it's not always going to be like 50-50, like we like each other just as much. I think that is life.
Yeah.
I don't know.
No, I agree with that
100%. One of the most bittersweet things in life and in relationships in general is that one person doesn't love the person more, but loves the person different, right? And you really have to find who you're compatible with. I think I said that on one of our last pods. Like, sometimes the guy loves the girl more, sometimes the girl loves the guy more, but I don't like using word more. They just love different, and you got to figure out like how that's gonna work.
Yeah.
Because in the beginning, for the first 6 months, that honeymoon phase is holy shit, I'm in love with you, like this is amazing, yada yada. You have to choose love after a certain point.
I definitely
Have to go water the garden, right? You it's like enjoying the fruits of your labor, but what happens when you eat the fruit? And what, you're not gonna stock your fridge up again? What are you gonna go do? You know, so it's difficult.
It's hard with men though. At least I feel this personally. Maybe you can attest. Like when your girl loves you more, sometimes it's almost like unattractive.
Yeah, for sure.
You know what I'm saying?
1000%.
Like
I've been on both ends of that
Yeah.
spectrum. I've loved more, and I've been the other side.
yeah, when
And it's hard.
when it's
hard.
too easy sometimes, when it's too easy, like there's a part of me where like just the man instinctually, it's like I don't feel like I have to work for her anymore.
Yeah.
But like when you have a girl that like, you know, like kind of fucks with you, right? Like she'll show you that she like really likes you, but now she'll pull away, right? It's like this game
it's
that
attractive.
I want to
for
continue
sure.
to like
Because
win the game,
you
right? To
wanna
prove
win.
my worth.
Because
Yeah.
dating is a game.
Yeah, it is.
100%. I
And
had
then
that
what
with that,
happens
bro.
when, you know, you're both dating? It's like you have to continue to date.
Yep.
I hate the game, but it's like,
But the game is happening
it's not gonna
regardless.
happen.
You're either
it's not
playing
gonna go
it
anywhere.
or
Yes.
you're being played.
Yeah.
Yeah,
You can't hate the game, because the game is life. At the end of the day, it is what it is.
Yeah.
I've been on both ends of that, and I've been the one that's been way too available to somebody, because I'm just like, yeah, this is me. I like you. I want to do this. It is what it is, without really realizing that like you need to go and do other things, because that's attractive. Being super, super available to somebody, no matter how you feel about them, is never going to be the way that you get that person, even if you think that's the way that you were going to get that person.
Yeah.
And the only way to learn that is through experience.
And I also think there's nothing more dangerous than a girl who has nothing to do with her days.
For
Because
sure.
that relationship, I feel like a lot of times people are like, oh, I'm going to get in a relationship and like, I'm just going to be a housewife. Or like, my mom took care of the kid, like us, and wasn't working, and my dad was the provider. But I'm just saying, like, when you have nothing to do, a lot of guys are like, I'm going to take care of my girl, and that's totally like fine. I don't care if she has nothing to do. But then those guys always come back to be like, well, you know, she's fucking nagging me all day. She has no passions, nothing she's working on. And then they find that, you know, maybe I said I wanted that, but then I got that, and I realized like, it'd be nice to have someone who had maybe not making money, but a passion, something she enjoyed. So I think sometimes people say they want things and then they get it and then they realize, fuck, I actually don't want that, you know?
Yeah.
I think that's different with marriage, though, real quick, because like when you're married, like when I have kids one day, like, yeah, for like the first, I don't know, 12 years of my kids' lives, like I would want my wife to be at home with the kid. Like I didn't want the nanny to raise the kid, you know?
I get that.
But like when you're boyfriend and girlfriend, it's a little different. Like, nah, you need to have something going on with your life, because God knows I do. I barely got time for my fucking self. I could see you maybe 1 to 2 times a week max. More than that, and it's gonna start to bleed into everything else that I'm doing with my life, and they can't be that. So like between the boyfriend and girlfriend aspect and then the marriage aspect is a little bit different. And then as you get older and the kids, let's say they go to high school, like my mother went back to work at some point, you know, and my parents we lived in an apartment, rented, and then when they bought a condo, when I was about to start high school, my mother went back to work. Like you gotta like let your kids free at some point, you know what I mean? Like let them go be themselves, and the wife has gotta, or even the vice versa. I've seen fucking the opposite. I've seen the dad stay home and the wife's the provider. You know what I mean? So it goes on both ways.
I can't imagine what that's like.
No, I can't imagine.
I would die.
I can never have that.
I would
dynamic.
literally
You can't-
die.
No, as a
Not that
man,
we
you
need to
can't
be
do
on
that.
top. Not that the man has to be technically like, it's not an ego thing, but it's just like we want to provide. Like if you're her, right? And this is for any woman out there. If he thinks that you're her, he is going to provide for you, period. You're not going to have to ask for it. You're not going to have to. He is going to take the context clues and he is going to provide for you, period. Doesn't matter, right? It's not an ego thing. It's not that I want to be, you're not my puppet. I'm not paying your bills, or I'm not paying for you because I want to control you. I'm doing that because I'm trying to make your life easier.
Yeah.
Because you're her to me.
Yeah.
And that's it.
Yeah.
Beautifully well said.
Bang.
Well, guys,
Dope.
this was such a fun
Thanks for
episode.
having us.
Thank you.
So nice, so
Yeah,
natural.
I appreciate it.
Thank you guys so much for coming on. I still want the shorts.
I got you. How long are you in New York for?
Another 2 weeks.
All right, cool. Are you
Yeah.
going to be in Montreal while I'm out there? Are you going to be
When
there?
are you going?
21st, I think. It's a Thursday. You'll
I
there?
will be. I will
If
be.
you're free. I don't know if I'm going to go yet. We'll see. Work is a
If
little busy
anything,
right
I'll
now.
come. Or we could send them in an Uber or whatever. We'll figure it out.
All right, cool. Sounds good.
Thank
We'll
you
get
so
you a
much.
Journey beanie. We have
we
beanies
got
Yes,
too.
for
Journey merch too.
sure.
Yeah, we'll get
Yeah.
some stuff. Yeah, 100%.
Thank you so much, guys.
Thank you.
Podcast.
Good stuff.
Dope. Yeah, oh yeah. Really, really dope.
Guys,
Really, really dope.
fun.